Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. Let's discuss what the plant DNA, the genetic symbol of plants, the divine design of evolution. Now, the first question which comes to my mind is Kapil Vriksh. This is the divine tree which starts all the presence of photosynthesis or the production of things on the earth. And from that angle I do see it represents to me how the science of chemistry, inorganic to organic to biochemistry started on earth. As in this particular picture you can see methane plus oxygen going to carbon dioxide and water to start the whole process as such thereafter. And this particular tree with the roots in the universe and trees right up down are the flowers as well as leaves right at the bottom. This reflects the divine consciousness that everything from the universe has come, and we have to understand from the beginning, not the end. That is sequence which I am talking about from mineral kingdom, from atom, element, molecules, compounds to the plant kingdom. Then next we will go to the animal kingdom, then finally come to the human consciousness. And in this particular thing, the amazing equilibrium is maintained, that methane plus oxygen given as carbon dioxide and water to start, and that comes from up down. And similarly, the carbon dioxide and water put together, photosynthesis in the presence of light is converted into glucose and oxygen again, and same glucose and oxygen is used by animal cells to produce carbon dioxide and water again. This particular cycle is the most beautiful thing of the divine nature. Come from carbon dioxide, water to glucose, oxygen, and again back to carbon dioxide and water. The process makes the things very clearly to show that as far as water is concerned is Amrit, oxygen is the Agni element, carbon dioxide is with the organic chemistry, and methane is the universal energy. If these are understood, I think we'll understand Rigved much better and Upanishad much better thereafter. Now to come to question, divine drama of glucose. The first carbohydrate to be produced is glucose, and glucose is from there we have proteins again, fatty acids come, and so are the other DNA, etc., etc., etc. We have seen from hydrogen, carbon, oxygen to carbohydrates, and also with nitrogen to the protein, then hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen and phosphate to the energy molecules. And that is what was energy molecule ATP, ADP, AMP and others are concerned. And now coming to DNA in plant kingdom is a reflection of the same thing, first in the plant kingdom. Now comes to question synthesis. I have already explained how carbon and hydrogen put together became thing and how it converted into the concept that I have already explained, how ammonia started. Now the question, as I told you, by the time you come to the phosphorus, it's nitrogen for carbon and hydrogen. Formation is from silica and hydrogen. Now understanding that whole process is phosphorus is 15 and oxygen is 4 of 18 get together is something which see the number of protons in the phosphate link in DNA. The number of protons are 47 and monophosphate is the proton is 49. I think once that is understood, things are very clear how we are going to get to understand the phosphate itself. Second thing is deoxyribose, 5 carbon, 10 hydrogen and 4 oxygen. This is not exactly glucose. Glucose is carbon 5, 6, hydrogen 12, O6. 6, 12, 6 is maintained, the combination is same, but deoxyribose, it is C and this is pental, but oxygen is 4. The number of protons in that process become carbon 30, 5 into 6, hydrogen 1 into 10, and oxygen 4 into 32 is 72. Once dehydrogenation is 72 is understood, I think we know the formula, what we are going to understand from plant kingdom DNA. Now adenine is a nucleotide. Its a chemical formula is carbon 5, hydrogen 5, nitrogen 5. So that combination is very clear. Now you have all the 5 elements which have been used. Hydrogen has been used, carbon has been used, oxygen has been used, nitrogen has been used, phosphate has been used. So number of protons in adenine is carbon 30, hydrogen 5, nitrogen 35 is equivalent to 70. Now I am bringing back to proton level to understand the divine chemistry as such, how beautiful it is. And I know this combination has not been discussed by anybody as such in a chemistry. Now coming to the thymine. Chemical formula is carbon 5, hydrogen 6, nitrogen 2, oxygen 2. So this is different from adenine. And now the number of protons here, carbon has got 30, hydrogen 6, nitrogen 14, and oxygen 16. That exactly is 66. Adenine is 70 and this is 66. Both of them put together as a one combination is 136. I think I am trying to drive at something, the divine mathematics with the way whole thing is worked, and that is the idea of talking about plant DNA. Now come to the cytosine. The chemical formula is same, C5H5 and 5 and O1, and this is different from what adenine is. But number of protons are carbon 30, hydrogen 5, nitrogen 35 and oxygen 8, equivalent to 78. This is second group of nucleotides. First one adenine and thymine, 170 plus 66, 136. This is 78 as a cytosine. Now you are going to see the guanine is the one with the cytosine is coming. Here is the carbon 5, hydrogen 5, nitrogen 3, oxygen 1. And the number of proton is carbon is 24, 4 into 6, hydrogen is 5, nitrogen is 7 into 3, 21, oxygen is 1 into 8, and together is 58. Interesting enough, 78 plus 30, 58 is equivalent to 36. First combination is also 136 protons. This is also 136. Once that you understand, then you can see the proximity is done in so beautifully by the divine science. That is something which has been missed by anybody, and I would definitely feel this is a level Rigved and Ayurveda as well as Upanishad go into detail. When you go deeper into mathematics of all these scriptures which are Sanskrit in nature, they have implicit mathematics, and that is what I am trying to bring it out with the help of the modern science as such. Now we come to the question of the next one, an unexpected aspect of Divyang B dialects, human thing or whatever it is. Now you can see the right on top, adenine and thymine. The combination, as I told you, 70 plus 66 you can see is 136. First combination of nucleotide has got 136. Isn't it amazing? Now you go to the second one, thymine and guanine. Again 78 plus 58 is 136. Isn't it surprising? First line is also 136, second line is also 136. That's what I want people to do, the mathematics of the nature which has unheard, unthink of before. And then you see the full length is 21 angstrom, and of course the carbon, the sequence is very clear. So once this is understood, I think we know very well what exactly to understand from divine mathematics. Now you understand the particular process of energy molecules as such used in plant DNA. Now comes to the plant DNA. It resembles human DNA as such. There is not much of difference. You can see the clear. You have both the rings, phosphate as well as nucleotides, and the number of strands, I am very happy to say, is 7 only. It is not 10.34419 which is there in human beings. but in plant kingdom is only 7, and I have also explained the whole process of carbon dioxide production is in 7 stages in the plant kingdom, whereas glycolysis and gluconeogenesis is 10 levels in human cells or animal cells. So that is the difference which I am trying to say, show how beautiful is the structure. And once we understand the mineral kingdom, then know the plant kingdom, then we understand the animal kingdom, then only we will be able to understand the whole human body as such completely, because everything is an evolutionary process, and as we move, how we have improved in the process. Now I have shown you the human DNA is 10.34419 strands, whereas this is only 7. So let that be very, very clear. Now the come to the question of this particular concept, both the sides, how this combination works very well. Now between the safe combinations of adenine, thymine, cytosine and guanine, combinations you can see has got bonds. Now the first top you can see the 3 bonds, and the lower one in the second one you can see, or you can see the first line there are 2 bonds, second at 3 bonds, then 2 bonds and 3 bonds. That combination continues. There is much more interesting in this particular plant DNA as well as human DNAs. One side you have 3 carbon, another you have 5 carbon on the start when there is phosphate group, and how the process reverses at the end is again something. But meantime, how things go, how they are attached. And I think once you understand this concept very clearly, you can move on to the next stage of understanding concept very clearly when it comes to human DNA at a later date. This is a preparation towards that, where I might show this but not talk in detail as such, and not just mention the value for you as a reminder. Now come to the question, structure of human DNA as well as that DNA is exactly the same thing. As I told you, the phosphate group, ribose group as well as nucleotide is a combination on top. The second thing is the 3 bonds and 2 bonds, and again 3 bonds and 2 bonds again according to Debye. The whole process is only according to Debye ratio. Once that is understood, I think we will understand concept very clearly as we move on to the higher thing, particularly when it comes to the human being, the precision comes perfectly there. Now as a double hydrogen bond between adenine and thymine, you can see very clearly NH, NH. There is only N and N combination where you can see H. There are only 2 possibilities where they can unite together as one piece. So no wonder 70 plus 66 is 136 in this particular combination, very, very clear. But here both are nitrogen and nitrogen oxygen, but there are 3 nitrogen, 1 oxygen, and as a result there are only 2 H, not 3 bonds or 3 H. When come to the question of the triple antigen with guanine and cytosine, you can see 3 N, H, N, but there is oxygen, in this as well as oxygen in both the sides, whereas first one does not have oxygen in adenine, but there is oxygen other thing. But here both of them have got oxygen as the fourth contact. That's what I showed you in the beginning. So as a result you have 3 bonds, NO, NHN, HON as a third combination. In this process you can see the 3 bonds. Now you can see how nature also functions, but finally in the both number of protons are maintained as 136. That is more important. Second is 70 plus 66. Both are very close to each other, which is, you can literally say 22 into 21 as a adenine, this formula. I think that's also something which I would like to show. 70 and 66 is equivalent to 22 by 21 is the first stage occurring. Between this, no wonder adenine is the most likely combination for energy molecules. ATP, ADP, AMP is the first choice. Even rest of the combination can get together to finally become ATP and ADP to function with. I have already explained. Once that is understood, we can go on to the next stage much better as we proceed. Now there comes the question of understanding plant DNA. Plant DNA has a double helix structure just like human being, two strands of nucleotides similar in other organisms. So phosphate group, both the site is exactly same thing, and nucleotides also the same thing. It is composed of single phosphate backbone as both left and right with 3 and 5 combination, and nitrogen base like adenine, thymine, guanine and cytosine that pairs up as A and T and C and G in the form of rungs of the ladder like structure, as you can see spirals going up. And in plant kingdom is 7, in human kingdom as 10.344, not 10 as such what I have spoken. But that's the clarification which I would give later when we come to that stage. This genetic information is stored primarily in the nucleus. Now DNAs are inside the nucleus of the cell, but also in the mitochondria and chloroplast. Human beings do not have in chloroplast. And I would show you also the structure, what is common, what is not common. Now you can see the question between animal cells and plant kingdom. Right in the center you can see cell membrane, ribosome, nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, vacuoles, and also mitochondria and lipase. So there you can see literally, you can see the 7, 8 whatever it is. You can say cell membrane as one, and 7 organelles in this picture very clear. But between animal kingdom and plant kingdom, which is, these are the common. But in plant kingdom, along with this, you have a cell membrane chloroplast, which is green in color. And this green color cytoplasm DNA structure or cell wall, with that is the one which is responsible for producing oxygen, glucose in the plant kingdom very, very clearly. And once this is understood, I think we can understand how finally from plant kingdom we have come to the animal kingdom, and the oxygen is not to be produced, and oxygen comes from the atmosphere thereafter. But plants were made first to replace 97% carbon dioxide of the Earth's atmosphere into 21% oxygen as such, and that process is only through the plant kingdom's cell membrane chloroplast DNA. And once that is understood, then you can see this is much before we come to the animal cells and then to human cells. And next we will definitely talk about unicellular organism in the animal kingdom, which could be a protozoa and also E. coli. And once that is understood, you will see the number 10 game again. Now plant and animal cell, the structures are very clear in this given particular. Plant cells are distinguishable from animal cells by their rigid wall and organized like the chloroplast. So wall is rigid, cell membrane is very rigid, and so is the chloroplast in the cell membrane, which makes plant kingdom stand out. In human cells, cell membrane is not that rigid because you need to bring sodium and water inside as such, where ATP plays an important role. Only also the common proteins and enzymes that play a role in also the photosynthesis, also in the plant kingdom. Some plant cells are polyploidy, meaning they have more than one copy of each chromosome per cell, whereas human beings you have only 23 pairs, 22 plus 1 of sexual, but here you have many more in the process. That combination is much more divergent in plant, not in animal cells. And cellular process occurs in the plants such as photosynthesis, produces a range of secondary metabolites like carbohydrates, lipids and proteins as such. Animal cells do not have a cell wall, but all need to be treated with chemical like sodium disaccharide SDS to disrupt the cell membrane to release genome DNA. That is also structure to be remembered, that for cell to release DNA, for RNA, DNA to RNA to mRNA, that process we will understand. But these are the main things which stand out in particular in plant kingdom as distinct from animal kingdom. Now comes to the question, as I told you in the beginning, once again I am showing. In this process you can see 70 plus 68 is 136, 78 plus 58 is 136. That combination makes it stand out, and once that is understood, I think we will know very well why plant kingdom with 7 layers or strands is much earlier than humans as 10.344, and whole structure what continues to be there, what is more or what has been shed, we will see more as we go towards animal kingdom as such. Now same thing is represent, I think for the time being this is enough for this, but essence is very clear. Mineral kingdom, atom, elements, molecules, compounds to start, and how they come down, and then how carbohydrate is formed, how lipids are formed, how proteins are formed, how energy molecules are formed, and how basic structure of plant DNA leading to animal DNA is starts in the animal mineral kingdom to plant kingdom to animal kingdom to finally the perfect human being as such. You are going to see as we move. This is enough for the day. Thank you very much.